Hiya BookTube, Bill Ruttenberg here with the Ruttenberg Library, coming at you again with another bookshelf tour. I am going to be doing the bookshelf that sits in the middle of the black bookcases, the second shelf down, and I've thoroughly enjoyed going through these shelves. You know, sometimes you get a collection and you put books away on the shelf and don't come back to them and you forget you even have them. So it's been kind of fun to go through the shelves and share with you what I got and remind myself of things I've got to get read. Also wanted to share with you, had a big milestone, at least a big milestone for me anyway. Hit my 25th subscriber today, and I know most of you that's not a big deal because you guys are in the hundreds and thousands, but for me that was kind of a big deal because when I started this channel I didn't know how many people would actually pay attention to me, and so that's kind of fun to see new subscribers. And thank you for all of you that have subscribed to the channel and liked the videos and all that kind of stuff. That's been very, very encouraging. And so anyway, let's go ahead and get started. So the first book on this shelf, we'll go right to left this time just to change it up a little bit. But the first book on this shelf is The Tide of Empire, America's March to the Pacific by Michael Golay. And there's that book. It's got a pretty cool cover to it. And I haven't read, like I told you in earlier videos, I haven't read several of these books, and this one I'm going to take a big guess that that's about Western expansion. It's going to be an exciting one to read. It's a neat topic. Second book on the shelf is The Dominion of War, Empire and Liberty in North America, from the year 1500 to the year 2000, by Fred Anderson and Andrew Caton. And I know I've read another book by Fred Anderson, and I cannot recall what the actual name of that book was. It was something dealing with the French and Indian War. That's kind of what I remember Fred Anderson for. But I'm excited to read this as well. Just talking about warfare in North America. All right. Third book on the shelf is Voyagers to the West, A Passage in the Peopling of North America on the Eve of the Revolution. And that's by Bernard Bailyn. And this book's got a little bit of heft. If you get to holding this book, I definitely wouldn't want to be smacked with it. It's got a little bit of weight to it. Of course, Bernard Bailyn, we could definitely call him one of the godfathers of early American history. He's if you get to studying him, he had a lot of students learn under him and go on to, get their masters and their doctorate and go on to teach. And he's been the backbone for a lot of people who have written books and taught. So any of his stuff is usually pretty good stuff. And that book, by the way, I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, won the Pulitzer. So, pretty good book. Next book in line is American Colonies by Alan Taylor. I've been wanting to build up, there's a pretty cool cover there. I've been wanting to build up my collection with some stuff on the earlier colonies, and this was one that I found. And I'm pretty sure I found this at Books Revisited in St. Joe at the bookstore. They've got a little bookstore that's connected to the public library, and every time they go through their every time the public library cycles through its books, then they send them down to Books Revisited and they sell them. $1 for paperback, $2 for hardback, and then also people can bring in books and give them away to be sold. And so I go in there quite often, probably about once a month. I'll go in there and check out what their selection has. Next book on the shelf, I don't have a dust jacket for it, but Founding the American Colonies, 1583 to 1660. It's part of that New American Nation series, and it is by John Pomfret with Floyd Shumway. And it's a I think going to be a pretty good volume. I bought that when I was trying to build up my colonial collection, just like on the other one. Next book in line is The Forging of the Union, 1781 to 1789 by Richard B. Morris. And this book will go quite well with one of the other volumes over here that I have just started to read, which is The Return of George Washington, and I'll show you that one in a minute. But that'll kind of go hand in hand with that time period from between the Revolutionary War and the American presidency, you know, after they got the Constitution established. Next book in line is a biography on John Adams, and it's called John Adams, Party of One by James Grant. And it's a decent sized volume here. I haven't gotten to that one yet, but it looks like it's going to be a good one. Next book in line, and a lot of these are going to be George Washington books, because as I've shared with you in other videos, I've been trying to work alongside my students in the classroom on the History Day project, and mine's going to be based around George Washington, so I made sure to kind of get some books all lined out to read. So that's what I've been working on for the last month and a half. And here's one of them, George Washington's War, The Saga of the American Revolution by Robert Leckie. And that has got a really, this is a paperback, but it's got a really cool cover to it, I think. Pretty cool artwork. And there's the spine there. And then the next one in line is another one by Bernard Bailyn, Faces of the Revolution, Personalities and Themes in the Struggle for American Independence. And as I said, Bernard Bailyn, godfather of early American history. I thoroughly enjoy reading his stuff. This one is another one that I haven't read. I've read several others by him. I got them up in the upper room upstairs. So, okay, this guy's kind of the oddball. This is one I've been reading also. I've been reading a chapter or two every morning. To America, The Personal Reflections of a Historian by Stephen Ambrose. And I have really enjoyed this. This is like sitting down with Grandpa and listening to him tell stories is kind of what this book amounts to. And he's telling his accounts of you know, from his past when he was writing books, what his overall take on American history is. And I've really enjoyed reading that. Put that one up there. All right, so then the next in line, and several of these I've shared in other videos, so I'll kind of go quick through these. The Return of George Washington, 1783 to 1789 by Edward J. Larson. That's the one I had started to read, and hopefully I'll kind of get into that and get to go in full speed. I haven't yet because I've been reading that Stephen Ambrose book. But here's one I'm going to be doing a book review on here pretty quick. Washington's Secret War, The Hidden History of Valley Forge by Thomas Fleming. That was a good book. I got done reading that one over a week ago. Next one in line is General George Washington, A Military Life. It's by Edward Lingle. And I've been real excited to read this one. We watched this movie in my American history class, and it is called Washington the Warrior, and it was a biography, a documentary put together by History Channel. And this Edward Lingle is one of the historians who talks in the documentary, and they keep referring back to this book, and so I'm real excited to read that. Here's another famous Washington biography. It's called just called Washington. It's by Douglas Southall Freeman, and it gets sourced in the back of books all the time. And so I was real excited to read this one. It's got some heft to it. It's almost a door stopper. It's a 792 page book. So it's got some meat to it. And then here comes another one. It's really got some meat to it. George Washington's Sacred Fire by Peter A. Lillback, excuse me, with Jerry Newcomb. And this is a hefty book. It has, if I can get to it, 1,179 pages. Now, granted, a lot of this is footnotes, but man, oh man, look at how, I don't know if you can see how tiny the footnotes are. Now, the rest of the book's not tiny like that. It's, you know, it's if you can see that, it's regular, but the footnotes are teeny tiny. So this book actually could have been a lot bigger, but it's over 1,000. That would count for your mammoths, one of your hefty ones. So the next one in the stack is Washington, the Indispensable Man by James Thomas Flexner. Now, I did a book review on this one in an earlier video, so you might check that out if you're interested. And it was a good book. I think I really need to read the 4-volume history on Washington to really go with this, because I kind of felt this one shorted Washington a lot, and I think the 4-volume won't. And so I really kind of need to get to reading that one. And then this is one that I read, well, it's been a while since I read this one, but it's called Patriarch, George Washington and the New American Nation by Richard Norton Smith. And I remember it as being okay, not my favorite, but it was okay. So anyway, that's the second shelf in the middle bookcase that sits behind me when I do my videos. I hope this video was entertaining with some new looks at George Washington. There are several others in my collection that I'll get to as time goes on, and I hope to continue doing these bookshelf tours. And I might even do one more right now just to go ahead and get it done, get this next one. I'll do that as a second video. So I hope you enjoyed this. Stay tuned for the next one. Thank you, BookTube. I'll see you later. Bye.